Breaking news in the search for missing college student Miya Marcano. Search crews are focusing on a new area.
Obviously, this is not the update that I wanted to give to everyone.
A family's worst nightmare realized. The sheriff says his team believes they found the body of Miya Marcano.
We continue to follow breaking news in the search for missing college student Miya Marcano. Search crews are focusing on a new area.
Breaking right now.
Miya, this message is for you. I know you're alive. I know you're out there. We love you. You know our family is strong. You know our family is big. You know we will never sleep one night until we get you home.
A tearful plea from the family of missing college student Miya Marcano. Investigators fear something bad happened to her. And breaking tonight, a maintenance man who was considered a person of interest killed himself.
And I want to reiterate, Miya is still missing. Her disappearance is suspicious.
Fox 35 News with live team coverage of what happened to Miya. Thank you for joining us. I'm Ray Vieda in for John Brown.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Luann Sorrell. Here is a timeline of this case so far. Deputies say someone used a master key fob to get into Miya's apartment near UCF around 4:30 p.m. on Friday. The maintenance worker, Armando Caballero, who was named a person of interest in this case, was known to use that master key. Miya was last seen at that apartment complex at 5 p.m. She was supposed to board a plane to Fort Lauderdale on Friday, but she never did. Today at 10:30 a.m., that maintenance worker was found dead from suicide in Seminole County. Well, we have live team coverage tonight. Fox 35's Daniel Lama is live where Caballero was found dead.
Samantha Sosa live where crews have been searching for Miya. But we begin with Fox 35's Dave Puglisi live in Orange County where her family is in town refusing to give up hope. Dave.
That's right. And we all know that Caballero worked at that same apartment complex where Miya lived. And it's believed that she turned down Caballero's romantic interest in her before she disappeared. And now there's an all-out search for where Miya could be.
We miss you and fight. We're here and we're waiting for you.
It's been over 72 hours since anyone has seen 19-year-old Miya Marcano. She disappeared around 5 p.m. Friday after deputies believe 27-year-old Armando Manuel Caballero entered her apartment.
We now know that a maintenance-issued master key fob, which Caballero was known to be in possession of, was used to enter Miya's apartment Friday afternoon.
Orange County deputies say they found Caballero around 1 p.m. Monday dead at his apartment complex in Seminole County. They say he killed himself and had been dead for some time. Miya's family members drove up from Fort Lauderdale to help in the search for their loved one.
Miya is alive and she's suffering. I want my granddaughter home.
They've been sleeping in their cars outside of her apartment at the Arden Villas in Orlando. They say they've started their own search as they grow more concerned every minute she's still out there.
We're asking you to spread Miya's name, Miya Marcano. But Miya Marcano will be the one that goes home alive.
Now, again, if you have any information about where Miya could be, you are urged to contact deputies immediately. In Orlando, Dave Puglisi, Fox 35 News.
Thank you, Dave. Fox 35's Samantha Sosa continues our live team coverage right now with an update on the search for Miya underway right now. Sam?
Hey, good evening, Ray. Well, I want to show you a command center that the Orange County Sheriff's Office set up. They actually just packed up a few minutes ago and they're getting ready to leave. This parking lot previously was full of patrol cars, but like I said, they're just packing up. They're getting ready to take those trucks out right now. The area we're in, it's a Ruby Tuesdays parking lot along University Boulevard, which is right across from the apartments where Miya lived, worked, and of course where she was last seen. So these crews were out in all the wooded areas around here. Let's go to some video of that. There were dozens and dozens of people looking through a wooded area along Rouse Road, kind of near University Boulevard, and they just spend the majority of the afternoon going in and out of those woods. Now, the Orange County Sheriff's Office hasn't really said much about that scene and that search, how it's connected, but we do know, of course, that Miya was living living down the road there. So again, dozens and dozens of searchers out near the woods, near Miya's apartment complex. Right now, search crews kind of packed up for the day. The command center here is all packed up and getting ready to go. We're going to stay out here, though, and keep you updated if we see any movement in this area. Of course, we will let you know. For now, I'm live in the UCF area. Samantha Sosa, Fox 35 News.
Sam, thank you. Our live team coverage continues now with Fox 35's Danielle Lama. She is live at the apartment complex in Longwood, where the person of interest was found dead. Danielle, what's going on there tonight?
Well, Luann, neighbors are telling us that the investigation was unfolding in this area of the parking lot behind me, that investigators were focusing on a storage and garage area and also parts of the parking lot. Take a look. Here's a photo of the scene from just a couple hours ago. The Seminole County Sheriff's Office says deputies were called out to this apartment complex on Sable Lake Drive in Wekiva Springs at around 10:30 this morning on reports of a suicide. The Orange County Sheriff's Office says 27-year-old Armando Caballero was found dead. Investigators say he was considered a person of interest in the disappearance of Miya Marcano. They had been looking for him all weekend, saying he worked at the Arden Villas apartments where Marcano also lived and worked.
He had demonstrated a romantic interest in Miya. This was repeatedly rebuffed by Miya. And during the initial investigation, he told deputies he last saw Miya at 3 p.m. Friday while working. We now know that a maintenance-issued master key fob, which Caballero was known to be in possession of, was used to enter Miya's apartment Friday afternoon at about 4:30. This would have been about 30 minutes before she finished her shift at the apartment complex.
It's a little shocking, but we have to remember that bad things can happen anywhere. It doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter where you live. Bad things happen everywhere.
Yeah, a lot of neighbors out here telling us that they were pretty surprised to see all of the activity in this parking lot earlier today. The Seminole County Sheriff's Office says they do not believe Caballero lived at this complex in Seminole County. Now, Orange County investigators say they last talked to him on Friday. They're hoping anyone who may have seen him or his car over the weekend to give them a call. Reporting live in Seminole County, Danielle Lama, Fox 35 News.
Thanks for the information and reaction, Danielle. Deputies want to hear from you. If you know anything about the person of interest, here is the picture of Armando Caballero again. Call police to report any information you might have about him.
Obviously, this is not the update that I wanted to give to everyone.
A family's worst nightmare realized. The sheriff says his team believes they found the body of Miya Marcano.
Tonight, her family speaks out on the tragic end to the search for the missing teen.
19 years old, she had the whole rest of her life ahead of her.
We are following breaking news tonight. Sheriff John Mina says his office has located what they believe to be the body of Miya Marcano. He says he and his team are heartbroken that this is the results of their 8-day search.
The body was found on the property of the Timberscan Apartments that's just off of Texas Avenue in Orlando, about 20 miles from Miya's apartment where she was last seen. Her family and the community have been holding vigils at the Arden Villas, praying for her to be brought back home. Fox 35's Dave Puglisi spoke with them there tonight.
The emotions were raw and powerful. It was hard not to get emotional as family laid down flowers in Miya's honor. The vigil starting just a few hours after they learned of her death. The tearful emotions visible on the faces of Miya Marcano's family. Those who stood strong this week now supported by family once again.
She was 19 years old. She had the whole rest of her life ahead of her.
The family and friends of the 19-year-old sharing prayer and honoring Miya's life one last time in front of her apartment window at Arden Villas. Her family learning of her death just hours before.
I can't even put into words how we're feeling right now as a family. I feel defeated. I feel like I failed my cousin, and I don't know how we're gonna get through this.
Deputies discovered what they believed to be Miya's body near the Timberscan condominiums. Overgrown fields, trash, and abandoned buildings line the area where she was found. Sheriff John Mina says their main and only suspect, the now deceased 27-year-old Armando Caballero's cell phone, pinged in the area between 8 and 9 p.m. the night Miya disappeared.
Hands, and Lord, you grant us our prayer. Even though you did not give us Miya the way we wanted her, we are grateful.
During the week, dozens of Miya's family members flew in from as far as Canada and the Caribbean to help in their search. Even as their search reached a week long, they never gave up hope that they would find her alive. This tragic end, not what they ever expected.
Miya, we love you, and we will always love you. This is not goodbye. This is see you later. We love you, Miya.
The family isn't sure what's next at this moment. All they know is they won't be heading to South Florida without Miya. In Orlando, Dave Puglisi, Fox 35 News.
Sheriff Mina says his team tracked Caballero's movements leading up to his death from county to county to county, hoping to find any lead to get clues to find Miya. Now, he says the whole operations center spent more than a week breaking down every piece of information.
And Fox 35's Matt Trezza explains the process of that investigation.
Delivering the tragic news about finding a body likely to be Miya Marcano's, Sheriff John Mina gave more details about how they got to this point.
So why were we at Timberscan Apartments?
Mina says they were electronically tracing the movements of Armando Caballero, their prime suspect.
Cell phone records showed us that Caballero was in or near the Timberscan Apartments on Friday evening between 8 and 9 o'clock. That's the evening that she was reported missing.
He says they'd combed through months of Caballero's electronic records to follow his steps.
He had been in downtown Orlando. He had been in the Paramore area. Obviously, he'd been in both Orange County near the apartment complex, at the other apartment complex in Seminole County, and of course, Volusia County. And
Mina says Caballero had a connection to the apartment complex.
He had lived in Timberscan Apartments at one time.
He says search teams located the body and more evidence.
They were walking and found what we believe to be her body. A purse with Miya's identification was found near the body as well.
Sheriff Mina said this isn't the end of their investigation, though. The next steps are to conduct an autopsy on the body they found and come up with a definitive timeline of the events leading up to Miya's death. In Orlando, Matt Trezza, Fox 35 News.
A great deal of information has been uncovered in the extensive search to find Miya. Let's take a look now at the timeline of events this past week. The search for Miya comes to a tragic end. It all started 1 week ago. At 4:30 p.m. last Friday, at the Arden Villas apartments where Miya lived and worked, deputies believe Armando Caballero, a maintenance worker at the complex, used a master key fob to enter her apartment. Later that night, Miya missed her flight home to Fort Lauderdale, and with no contact from her, family drove up to see what was wrong. On Saturday, Miya's aunt had a brief yet disturbing interaction with Caballero, who at the time wasn't a known suspect.
He said, "Are you looking for Miya?" I said, "Who are you?" He said, "I'm the maintenance guy. I heard you're looking for me."
That same morning, this video surfaced of a man who matched Caballero's description getting out of a car identified by deputies as Caballero's vehicle. Families say that blanket in his hand is Miya's. Sunday was the first of many vigils held for Miya, and on Monday, a big development with Caballero.
We found a suicide on property. Someone hung themselves from a garage.
Deputies rushed to the Sable Club apartments for an apparent suicide, only to find his body. By Wednesday, the search for Miya intensified, with investigators and family members at Arden Villas, Blanchard Park, and Lake Monroe. On Thursday, the search expanded to New Smyrna Beach after family told us a cell phone belonging to Caballero pinged in that area. That brings us to a sad end, when deputies finally found the body in the Timberscan Apartments area in Orlando.
And also breaking tonight, we are learning the residents of Miya's apartment complex, Arden Villas, issued a list of demands for the complex. They include that any resident should be allowed to break their lease. They also want all rent collected from the leasing term to be returned. They also want an updated policy on entering apartments and security upgrades like installing cameras. We are working to get a response from the apartment complex. And Fox 35 uncovered more details that could be related to this case. Another woman claims that she may have had an incident with Caballero. We have new body camera video from the incident, which happened back in March.
There's a weight that was thrown into the window. She doesn't know who.
The woman says a maintenance worker named Armando threw a dumbbell through her window. Police believe it was Armando Caballero. Police say both women rejected his romantic advances.
The Marcano family gave us a glimpse of the type of person that Miya was. Loved ones remember Miya as a shining light in their family. They say that she was goofy, funny, and very family-oriented and full of love. The family says this week has been extremely difficult.
It's heart-wrenching. It's heartbreaking. This is our baby. She's funny. She's goofy. She's silly. She's very, very family-oriented. She loves her family, and her family loves her back.
Tonight, the family is still working to put together final plans for Miya.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here tonight. My name is Jody Lewis, and I am going to be the publicist for the family. Today, we have the family attorney, Darryl Washington, as well as the family of Miya behind me, and they're going to speak about how they're feeling right now. We will take questions afterwards, brief questions, and I'm going to bring on Kaylee, who is the cousin of Miya, first.
Hi everybody, I'm Kaylee Sue, Miya's older cousin, and this is Miya's family. It's a very small representation of everyone who considers Miya family and who is our family. We have family as we have her great grandma that's all the way from Virgin Islands, and we have family visiting from Trinidad, from New York, from Canada, from all over Florida. Anyone that could find their way here is here to represent and was here to help us search for Miya. As a family, we'd like to thank everyone for the support and for helping us in this search, and whether you were physically present or just sharing information. I had people who reached out that were not in the area but knew the area better than we do. We're not from Orlando. They would reach out with little tips, and I heard this, and have you checked here? All of that was greatly appreciated, and now we're just focused on making sure that we get justice for Miya.
Good evening, I'm Darryl Washington. I'm the family attorney. First of all, on behalf of the family, we would just like to thank the entire community for coming forward in this very unified effort. This has been an extremely difficult time for the family, as you can imagine. As we discussed, death is something that is very difficult. But what makes death even more difficult is when it's death that could have been prevented. And in this situation, this was a preventable death. And this is what makes it very difficult for the family. We've had the opportunity to talk to young girls who are college students, young girls who are tenants at the Art and Villas apartment. And people are living in fear, because what happened to Miya could have easily happened to one of them. And it's very awful that we have a complex that did not take the proper precautions to assure that this young lady was safe. When her parents allowed her to stay in that apartment complex, she was staying there because we thought this was one of the best. The families thought that this was a complex that you can live in and feel protected. And now we're learning so many different things. We're learning that there weren't even security cameras in a number of places at this complex. So again, there is a lot of frustration, but there is just simply no way that this young man should have had access. And I'm calling him a young man, but he was a predator. He shouldn't have had access to Miya's apartment. And we believe that there was so much more that could have been done to prevent this. Sadly, there are young students who live at this apartment complex today who are passing around a petition because they're demanding that there be justice. They're demanding that there be some safety precaution taken at this apartment complex so that their lives are not taken the way Miya lost her life. So again, we want to thank everybody who came out and helped in the effort, but this has been a very difficult time for the family. As you can imagine, when you turn around and you see this family, this is not everyone. So when they took Miya's life, they also took a piece away from this family that they can never ever recover. And we just hope that after the day that there's not another family that has to deal with what this family is currently dealing with. So we're going to take a few questions now.
Are you currently filing a lawsuit against the apartment complex? And if so, what is the lawsuit
There's not been a lawsuit that has been filed at the current moment, but I will tell you that the family is currently looking at every legal remedy that is available to them. We do believe that there was negligence that took place. There was negligent entrustment, there was negligent hiring. So there is some liability on the part of this apartment complex, and again, we feel that had this apartment complex taken the proper steps, this person should have not even been employed at that apartment complex.
Attorney Washington, have you had any conversations with the complex, and if so, what has those conversations been like?
To be quite honest with you, it's been very disappointing because Miya was not only a tenant at this apartment complex, but she was an employee. This apartment complex has not reached out to the family to offer their condolences. This apartment complex have not talked to the family. In fact, this apartment complex have been extremely difficult with the family getting answers. So it's been really disappointing the way this apartment complex has handled this.
And specifically, you mentioned the gate, you mentioned the lights, but any more specifics on the negligence that you're claiming for the complex?
Well, you know, when you just do just a quick background search on the person that had the key fob, you will find that there are some hits. There are some things that this person has been involved in. So if this apartment complex is going to entrust someone like that with a key fob that gives him open access to somebody's apartment, that's very problematic.
Has Arden Villas provided you with information on how they do background checks when they hire employees?
Once again, they have not provided us with anything. We've requested it. The family has tried to talk to the Arden Villa. They have not want to talk at all.
I have a question for you, if you don't mind speaking to it. Thank you so much, and I'm so sorry to you and your family.
Thank you.
What is, pursuing legal action against this apartment complex? How is that going to help your family's justice and help others at the apartment complex as well?
As he mentioned, there have been a lot of different parties that have reached out and mentioned not feeling safe living there anymore, and of course we wanted to, our goal was of course to find Miya home, bring her home and bring her safe, but if we could make the place where she lived safe for everyone, that would be the end goal. There are so many students and other tenants that came forward and shared their stories about maybe their interactions with maintenance workers that made them feel uncomfortable, or just in general not feeling safe anymore. We had vigils in the evening while we were looking for her, and sometimes there would be tenants that came up and said, I just don't feel safe here, and I'd say, okay, give me 1 second, let me see if I can find one of our cousins to walk you home. There were so many family members there that were willing for us to make them feel safe, so they should feel safe all of the time. You shouldn't feel unsafe where you live. That's supposed to be everyone's safe space. When you don't feel safe somewhere, you're supposed to be able to say, I'm going to go home, wrap myself up in a blanket and feel okay, and that's just not acceptable.
I have a question for Attorney Washington again. You said that the apartment complex really hasn't been responsive to you, to the family, so what would you say is the next step if they continue to not respond to the things that you guys are asking of them?
Legally, they won't have a choice but to respond to us. We've tried to talk to the apartment complex. What's so disheartening, if you look at, there are a number of articles where you see the apartment complex already trying to be defensive, where they said that they conducted the proper background step. They are even coming out and saying that they're changing policy. So the fact now that they are implementing new policies already tells you that there was an issue. Otherwise, you wouldn't be implementing new policies if the policies that you had in place were there to protect the tenants.
When you say legally they won't have a choice, can you be a little bit more specific about what you mean?
And again, without getting into all of it, if this matter progresses on to a lawsuit, then there's going to be information that the court will require them to produce to us. So they're going to cooperate with us and give it to us, or legally they won't have a choice but to give it to us. And just to answer a question you mentioned earlier about how would this make a change, one of the things that the family is already talking about is starting a foundation in honor of Miya. And this is so very important, and that they are able to think about this, because what's so important to them is that they want to make sure that another parent never have to go through what they had to deal with for the last 7 to 8 days. You can't imagine what this family has to deal with. I mean, so it's been very difficult. There should be laws in place where family members are able to find out what's going on. You should not have to wait 24, 48, or 72 hours to get people to take this matter serious. And this is what they want to start with, the foundation and some type of laws that's going to make it easier. That's going to make it easier for other people if they ever have to experience something like this.
Do you mind talking more about the foundation?
There's no set plan as of right now. However, we will be creating a foundation in Mia's name, and it'll be depending on, of course, whatever our main goal, of course, is to raise awareness and safety in apartment complexes and in anywhere that anyone lives, especially when you're housing students and people who have families that care about them, which should be pretty much everyone. So we just want to make sure that we find solidification, and that'll be our goal.
Attorney Washington, from the conversations you've had with residents at Arctic Villas, did you learn anything more about the suspect? Have they told you anything that bothered them about him or anything suspicious?
Well, without getting too much into it, there have been people who have had concerns about this same individual. So again, we do believe that management had notice of this, which is why I believe that they're not talking to us. But again, this person should have not had, and we're going to keep on reminding you all of this, person should have not had that key fob. Based on that person's record, he should have not had that key fob in his possession whatsoever.
Haley, if you don't mind me asking one quick question. I mean, you all have been very strong this whole time. 7-8 days, very positive, I would say, for the most part. What's kept you so strong? Where did you go from here?
I think everyone being here together and supporting each other is what kept us so strong, because we were able to lift each other up when we started feeling any little bit of doubt. We're like, let's look for something else, look for another lead, or just as you would start to feel like things started to slow down. For me, it hit me every day around this time that the sun starts to set, it's going to get dark, we're going to be searching for her, it's going to be harder to find her in the dark. Orlando's not as developed as South Florida is, so there's not as much well-lit areas. So that would always get to me, and then I felt it on my own, and then I could start seeing it in other family members. So we started to lift each other up, and we did things like go out in the dark with flashlights, went to Walmart, bought flashlights, went with our phones with lights, and coming together. But I think that was what kept us going. The support from the community, of course, reaching out and supporting us, and everyone giving us all of their positive thoughts, but mainly our energy here is what kept us going.
That's an expensive process too, to be able to do that. You were doing, what you needed to do at the time. But Armando's family has also, spoken out at some point. Are there any civil suits planned in the works?
Again, the family, we are looking at all the legal remedies that's available to the family, but obviously, and it's very clear that there was some negligence that was involved in this case. That's no secret. Again, we've always, I think everybody have known that this guy went into this apartment without permission, and the only way that he was able to get into that apartment without permission is that he had access to the key fob. But again, we said over and over that this apartment complex, Miya was an employee. The second that they found out that Miya was missing, they had the ability to find out if somebody went into her apartment. So this is not something that we should have found out a day or 2 days later. This is something that they could have found out in less than 30 minutes, which I think could have been very helpful, extremely helpful.
Is there anyone in the family who speaks Spanish who can leave us an update?
Gabby?
Thank you.
La familia quiere justicia para Miya. Alguien tiene que hacer accountable for her life. Eso no acaba aquí. Nosotros queremos justicia, queremos cambio. Es bien duro.
Gaby, ¿podrías hablarnos sobre el anuncio que nos está haciendo hoy el abogado? ¿Qué está haciendo la familia en este momento legalmente para pedir justicia por Miya?
Representando a los otros. Y también que haga justicia. Alguien tiene que responder por esta vida.
We'll take 1 or 2 more questions if you.
Just one more question for you. ¿Cuáles son las iniciativas que están haciendo
Eso ya se lo dejamos al abogado para que ellos se tomen esa decisión. Ya las cosas están en sus manos. La familia va a trabajar ahora a buscar la justicia y con el abogado a buscar justicia para Miya.
Just one more question in English. You have this entire family surrounding you. What do you think that says about your family and about Miya and how much she was loved?
Her life cannot be taken in vain. One thing Miya taught us is to just love everybody.
It's okay. As you can tell, this has just been extremely difficult. We wanted to address you guys really quick. This is Mia's great-grandmother. She's here with us today, so this has been an extreme loss for the family. This was supposed to be this weekend coming, and all week. This was supposed to be a time that this family was going to be celebrating with the carnival. This was a time that Miya looked forward to, and this was just totally stripped away from this family. So this was supposed to be a time when it's full of celebration and full of joy, but instead it's full of sorrow. And this is what makes it so difficult for this family to really process. But Miya was the person that really held this family to be so young. She was the person that held this family together. She was so outgoing. Everyone loved Miya. I mean, there was not a person who I've talked to who have not come in contact with her who did not instantly love her. That was just the type of person she was. She had the greatest smile. You look at the videos of her playing with her grandparents. I mean, all of that has been stripped away from her. And we say it all the time, parents are not supposed to bury their children. That's not supposed to happen. And because of this, and with the foundation that we've talked about, there need to be changes. There ought to be changes. And we're going to make sure through this family and through Miya's foundation, we're going to really make sure that another young girl is not going to have to deal with what Miya had to deal with ever again.